I think any of us who have worked for clients, whether serving as a producer for an artist, being a composer for a company, or even serving libraries, all of those are serving clients. So in the corporate world, it's our job to serve the client, right? With our skills, with our creative skills. But in the music world, we tend to think that they may want us to be artistic geniuses instead of, because we think ourselves as artistic musical geniuses, and they want us to be that. And maybe that's a little true, but they want our creativity, but they also at the end of the day need what they know their clients want, and that is the right music or the right service from us for the right use. So today we want to talk to you about the importance of serving the client with your music. It's important in order to keep the gig. It's important for your reputation, and it's crucial for making music income. So welcome to episode. So welcome to
Technical
skipping here a
difficulties.
little bit. So welcome. It's an AI thing. I'm using an AI head today. So welcome to episode 68 of the Make Music Income podcast. And now let's check in with my podcast partner, who is always laser focused with great intensity, like a gazelle, on the wants and needs of his music clients,
Are
Mr.
gazelles
Stevie V.
focused? I thought it was the lion that's hunting the gazelle that's focused.
No, no, they're focused because
Oh, yeah,
if
that's
they hear a
true.
lion
They're
coming,
very
they're
attentive.
like
They're always listening
focused
to their
on. They got to
surroundings, trying to
run.
figure out what's going on.
They got to run if they. Exactly. That's you. That's you,
What's
my
going
man.
on with me? I'm working on a lot. A lot. I don't know. I don't want to bore you guys with all the details. I'll just say that I'm working on a lot of music, man. I'm serving a lot of clients. I'm writing dramedy for one publisher. I'm writing sports cues for another. I'm writing music with my wife.
Nice.
We're almost finished putting together an application for Artlist for her. That's kind of my goal for this month. I'm writing hip hop for Motion Array. I'm writing music for my band. Getting ready to hit the road next month. And yeah, there's just
Wow.
I don't know. There's a lot going on. Um, I had perhaps one of the best challenge showcases of all time yesterday. You were there. Um, I was just
You
so blown
did.
away with the collaborations. And for anyone who missed it, I basically put teams together in the academy and assigned every team a specific compositional task. And what they came up with was just spectacular. Go check that out if you haven't already. Um, I'm still just absolutely blown away. It was just the coolest challenge, and people got to know each other. They got to connect um, from all around the world, and I think that we speak about collaboration a lot on this podcast. I think you get something really magical out of it, and yeah, you build relationships, make new friends, and it's a beautiful thing. So that challenge was really special for me. It was really special for the members of the academy, and I'm still feeling good from it. So, other than that, yeah, a lot of other little things I'm trying to figure out with my life, and it's all keeping me pretty busy. What about you?
Yeah, that was a great. It was a great time yesterday for sure. I really enjoyed listening to everybody's stuff, and again, it's one of those deals. We keep talking about it, but I never, I am never, I never cease to be um, surprised and amazed by the people that are
Hmm.
part of our communities, the people who are part of our lives and stuff. I also had a shorter version of some people's music yesterday on my Hello Composers channel. Something I'm going to try to do every week. It's called Composers Mastermind Live. I'm kind of just trying a a combination of having a mastermind and also a live listening show every week. Not as many as you did yesterday, and a little bit more focused on talking to the composers. One of the things you said during your thing yesterday, it'd be great if I could just see your face and talk to you rather than just see a text, because sometimes you're waiting for
Yeah,
those chat things and you're like, okay, does anybody have anything? And you're sitting there like a dummy looking at the chat going, waiting for an answer to
yeah.
your question. And they're over there, in the kitchen making some tea or something. So it's really good to have the people on there. So that was really fun yesterday. I did
Yeah,
it with
nice.
Arco and Andreas and Matthias, and it was really fun. So I'm going to do that every week on the Hello Composers channel. If you're interested, you can go to hellocomposers.com and find out more about the mastermind that we're having now. So that started this week. Let's see what else started this week. I also did a little conversation with John Mayer, which
Yeah.
was really good, and it had been a long time coming.
How
The edit
long?
was intense, but
Oh yeah,
because we
yeah.
talked so long, and I chopped it down to 16 minutes or 17 minutes. So it was, and I still have so much on the cutting room floor to bring back out into other videos and shorts maybe and things like that. But lots of nuggets from John. He's so good and so smart. And then I've got a video coming out tomorrow called An Interesting Month in Pond 5. I actually have two things I want to talk about tomorrow, but I think I'm just going to focus on that because I want to talk about my sales last month and then, the other stuff that's going on at Pond 5 and just in general. And then we got news today about Audio Jungle and Envato
Oh,
doing the same thing, by
I
the
did
way.
not.
I'm not sure
What's
if you
going
saw
on?
it. Jesse put out a video about it. I sent him a note this morning about it. They sent out new terms saying that your songs are in perpetually in the Audio Jungle library. You can take them down, but just because you take them down doesn't mean we're not feeding them to AI. So they are also doing the same thing Pond 5 is, except they're giving you until June 1st to to decide if you want to stay in Audio Jungle before they start feeding your
And does
music
that
to
mean
the
like you
AI
either have to
machine.
stay in or you're
And
out, like you leave the library completely?
song wise, song by song. So if you don't care if AI uses some songs and you care it uses some others, you can take
Okay.
those out before
Okay.
June 1st. Otherwise, after June 1st, they'll just assume you're okay with them being in there, and they will be in there for
Hmm.
the foreseeable future. And so, hey, at
A
least
warning. Yeah,
sent us
right.
a heads up before they're going to do it, unlike Pond 5 did. So Jesse did a whole video about that today. So I don't want to bemoan it. And I put it, we talked about it on the Discord and stuff today. By the way, if you're not in the Discord and you're listening to this, you ought to get in our Discord. A lot of good stuff going on in there. Let's see. I got approval on two new songs. I think I talked about that yesterday. One was this kind of lo-fi, or at least my version of lo-fi thing called Comfy Me. It's this kind of chill tune. And then, which I think is the first lo-fi tune Motion Arrays accepted from me, or what I would call lo-fi. It's
Hmm.
probably not. It's more jazzy, probably. And then the song that I had a certain guitarist and bass player that's on this podcast. That's not me. I'm not going to say who it is, but
It's who?
it's a
Oh, damn. Yeah.
it's Dan Barracuda. No, I'm just kidding. It's Stevie B, and he played a little guitar for me on this song called "Get Up and Go," and so that's in there. It doesn't look like it's going to get up and go anywhere, but it is
Hmm.
in the library. We'll
Yeah.
see if anything happens with it. I've been working on a lot of songs as well. I debuted a song yesterday on the Make Music Income, or sorry, the Hello Composers live that we did, the mastermind, called Five Reasons. Very kind of classical piece, and then I'm working on something that I just, I don't know if you're like this, but I have a bunch of starts in lots of directories, and I'll just try to keep those fresh and just sometimes you just got to go down the list and you just say, okay, let me see what this one is, because you did it
Yeah.
a month ago or 2 months ago and you started it. And so I found a song called All's Well, and it's cute and very, very corporate-y type of
Hmm.
sounding, very positive. And so I started messing around with that yesterday and this morning, and so I'm
Yeah,
on
nice.
that one. So, and then yeah, and then I've got two production clients that are coming in. They're clients from around the world. One's from Manchester, England, and another one's from
Cool.
Cameroon originally. And but I have done albums for them in the past, and we are starting new albums out of the blue this week, as far as I know. But that leads us into what we're going to talk about this week, which is serving the client. I'm wearing a client T-shirt right now. This is one of my longtime album and marketing clients, music clients. They're more of a kind of Christian rock
What's the name? We can't
band,
see it
harder
behind the
rock
banner
or
there.
metal. It's called
Mm.
Falcone Rising, because the guy who writes everything is named John Falcone. And so we've been working on Falcone Rising for about about 4 years, maybe 5 years. He's put 2 albums out, and he's working on the third right now. And we just do videos a lot on YouTube, and I do marketing for him
Cool.
on Facebook and Instagram. And this is the first one we should talk about. And I mean, this is really producing for an artist, but in some ways, he is not an artist as much as a client, because we are reproducing his music with a band in Nashville with players. And so we have a kind of another producer who is the guitarist and really records and mixes everything. And he basically finds the bass player and the drummer, and they just crank out some awesome. I call it metal. Metal people probably call it hard rock. I don't know where the edge is, and I don't know how to define it, but it's got a lot of
Mhm.
Metallica-ishness to me. But I don't know if people still call that metal, as far as how these things change. But anyway, that's the feel of it. And I've been working for him for a long time, and that means I need to make things happen for him. I need to I need to do more than just actually working for him almost has
Hmm.
nothing to do with my musicality. Working for this client that I'm wearing on a t-shirt has nothing to do, other than me listening to his songs and saying yes or no, or telling him the chorus is weak, or other than that, once that's done and the decisions are made about the songs, they go to this other producer that I hire, and he takes care of the rest. And I'm kind of like the third guy, because the client will like or not like what the producer's doing, and then I'll sometimes have something to say, but not much, because I picked the right guy for this band to work with. And so again, producing for this client doesn't require me to do any musical things. It doesn't require me to write anything, arrange anything. I guess you could call it, I'm arranging stuff when I tell him, maybe it could use a second chorus or stuff like that. But for the most part, I am the record
You're
label, so to
you're
speak
kind of like
here. I
the Rick
am
Rubin-esque
A&R.
character, like lying on the couch saying
Uh,
saying yes or no and just listening. You just need to grow a big beard.
yes. I'm laying there
Yeah, somebody, your
eating
assistant is feeding
grapes
you
and
grape.
laying on the couch. Another chorus. Needs another
See,
chorus.
I've always wanted to do that kind of work. I haven't really done any. I did produce an album for a band like more than 10 years ago, and it was a total nightmare. And I don't think I ever want to do it again. Um, yeah, bands are really
Bands are
hard to
hard,
produce.
man.
I mean, some. I'm sure it could be really fun and fruitful for in the right circumstance. But I did not have a good time doing it, and I don't see myself doing it anytime soon.
Usually with bands, there has to be a band leader that you talk to and work with, rather than every member of the band, because that's pretty difficult. And but yeah, this is one thing we're talking about. And for those of you watching who are composers or producers yourself, and you only produce your music, and maybe you work for music libraries or
Mhm.
different things, that's all well and good. But I'm telling you, and I say this a lot on this channel, and then this is the next arc of my channel, is to really talk about production, music production from not for licensing, but music production for clients and artists. And I think this is the thing that we some reason don't. I mean, we do it. You and I both do it a lot. We produce for different people and clients, but um, it's easy. Everybody wants to talk about the shiny objects, like licensing and things like that, and Spotify, and those are all worth talking about for sure. But I think all of us, for a channel called and a podcast called Make Music Income, we're all sitting here like with the ability to make a lot of money working for clients and artists, and because it's a half part-time job or whatever, people are doing this in their as a hobby. They're not exactly going out and looking for that kind
Yeah, I
of
don't know. I
work.
mean, I feel
I
like
don't know.
producing for clients or art. I mean, for artists or I mean, that's like where I make most of my money. That to me is like is the shiny object. I actually kind of think of it. You're
Yeah.
right. It's like I'm surprised I don't really talk about it more on YouTube. We definitely spend a lot of time talking about licensing and and that kind of stuff. And I should really be, I think I've been trying to say it more in the academy, just talking about building relationships, because I think it's really just a relationships business. It's like you got to go and hustle. Where I think music licensing is kind of more attractive is that it maybe doesn't require such a personalized hustle to some extent. Like you can make money if you just get on the right library and you get some traction going. Like it's one way that you don't really have to be like so much of a schmoozer, like actually reaching out to people and doing a lot of like emailing and stuff
Yeah.
like that, because that doesn't
Yeah.
always work for people. But I think that if you are that type of person that puts yourself out there and is comfortable with that and is willing to put in that work, then you can make a lot of money producing for clients, doing production, custom production work.
Now let's talk about the downside. The downside is the client is always right. The
Yeah.
customer is always right, is what we've heard forever. Back in the day, and still, when I work for a company, let's say it's a marketing company, they're going to tell me what exactly they want for their commercial or for the video that I'm creating something for, and it's not always going to be what I would musically
Yes.
suggest to them. And so this is a bit of a downside, because the other thing that we do, and as we'll talk about here in a minute, licensing is probably not as different as we think about this. But when we're working directly for a music client, then we are really talking about having to do what the client wants at the expense sometimes of what we want to do. And that's a tough one, I think, for some musicians. And I think that's the barrier for musicians who want to make money
Hmm.
outside of being an artist, or outside of being a quote unquote producer,
Yeah.
composer, beat maker,
It's
whatever.
frustrating. Most of the experiences that I've had working for clients have been really, it's been overwhelmingly positive. And I think a great way, like looking back on some of my best projects, it's like the whoever I was working for kind of trusted my creative instincts, and they were like, didn't infuse too much of their own opinion into it. They said, okay, here's the brief, or here's what I need, and they're like, I trust you to do a great job with it, and usually it works out fine. There's been a few cases definitely where it's just like revision after revision after revision, and it gets to a point where you're just like, oh my god,
Yeah.
like I should have thought. I mean, I didn't. You just didn't realize that it was going to be like, and there's can be a total communication breakdown about what it is exactly that they want, because a lot of times your clients don't know how to speak that musical language to you, and they're not able to convey
Yeah.
exactly what it is they want. They have an idea of what it is they like, and they kind of leave the floor open to you to send them something without too much direction. You give it to them and they're just like, oh, that's not what I wanted. I'm like, well, what did you want? And then they have a really hard time explaining it. So those are situations which can be really, really frustrating. And I've had a couple of those, and they can really kind of like bum you out and turn you off. But yeah, I've been lucky. Most of the time it's been like, we trust you, do your thing. Sometimes, and other times it's like you give them the final product and they totally chop it up and do something totally different with it. You're like, oh, okay. But like, there's a
Yeah.
part of you that has like, there's that ego part of you that's just like, well, I wouldn't have done it that way. But like, you have to let go. You have to let go of it, and remember that somebody's buying this work off of you, and you don't really own it anymore when it's all said and done.
Yeah. To a point. I'll talk about that. I think you have to be careful. I mean, on one hand, you have to do what the client wants and what they ask. At the same time, and I'm sure I've said this on this podcast before, I've had clients that said, it's my way or the highway, do it my way. And I'm like, that's not the best way to do it. And they said, well, and I said, here's what I would do. And they were like, that's not what I want. That's not what I want to do. I want to do this. And now they're speaking with no experience in this thing that they
Yeah.
are they're having us do. But at the same time, and this goes for working for clients or working for artists, it they will come back to me years later and say, I
Yeah.
wish I'd just let you do
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
You
Well,
were right
this is
all
a
along.
thing with art artists, especially. Like I said, I haven't done much working like for producing artists, but I've a few good friends here that have done a lot of that kind of work. And there's certain situations where like it really kind of like it's going to push their like their integrity to the limits, right? Because like the artist will just be so clueless, and they'll have like these really convoluted ideas of what it is that they, you know, they want from something, and it could be objectively just like not a good idea. And the producer is got to be that one that's saying, you know, look, you're hiring me to trust my judgment to some extent. Like these are bad decisions. And as a producer, if you're like, I think you have to ask yourself at some point, you know, if the work is worth doing, if you're actually just going to go, like, if you're just going to go ahead and do whatever it is the artist wants, even despite the fact it's actually like a not a good decision at all. You know what I mean? So
I have that very thing going on right now with a client that I am just sometimes it's hard for me to
yeah,
say
yeah.
no to people. It's hard for me to be working with a client and know that I am spinning my wheels with this person, that they are just musically getting off on their own ideas, and I am just I'm just helping that. I'm what do they call that when you are helping someone do drugs? They
You're
call it a
enabling them.
co. I am enabling people to do music that they should and make decisions that they shouldn't do because I am nice. I am enabling uh, amateurs to sound professional when they are not going to put the this is a longer rant, but and this is something I've been dealing with for 10 years. I've been very ensconced and still am working with amateurs and people who are
Hmm.
semi-pros and starting up, and that's still a big part of
Hmm.
my channel, both our channels really. And so I just have a heart for them, and
Yeah.
I've been them, so I know. And I think that's a part of the industry that has traditionally been ignored, is working for artists who aren't superstars, but they do have something to say and something to give. And so I've always helped them. But I have someone right now who I'm helping. I'm like, why? And several actually clients that I'm looking at, I'm going, should I continue down this road here, business wise
Yeah.
and music
Yeah. I mean, you
wise,
really have to make
artistic
an
wise?
assessment.
You know?
I mean, if the artist, if you guys are just butting heads constantly, and like the artist won't listen to the advice, then it's like, I mean, yeah, you really got to question whether it's worth it. I definitely found myself in that situation in when made an album. It was such a nightmare working with this particular band. Um, it just took forever to get the project done, and you know, when you're constantly butting heads about the tiniest little thing, it just stretches out the process needlessly. And you know,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's like what I charged for my time was like, you know, it just completely, it wasn't enough. It wasn't even nearly enough. And I didn't realize that going in until it was kind of too late. So
Yeah. And I don't want to paint too negative a picture. We're talking about probably 5% or less of
totally,
the
yeah.
clients we've ever worked with
Yeah.
being trouble, and 95% being certainly fine. It's our decision. When I first started producing, I was like, what? I can make, what I usually made in corporate work just by producing people and making recordings for them. I'll take it, and it is very fun. And if you are someone who likes to help people and you like to make music of your own, but it's not enough to jump out and be full time in music
Hmm.
because you have to have another job. I really do want to push producing, but you have to serve the client and you have to be prepared for that. So, all right, let's move on to another client that we serve when we compose and produce for sync libraries. This is what you were saying earlier about sometimes the client will take it and they'll do the mixing and they'll do the final and all that kind of stuff. Well, I have one of my libraries right now that does the mixing. The president or somebody in the library does all the mixing, and it's fine. It's actually easy because I don't have to pay for it to be mixed, and I don't have to send I don't have to do all that kind of thing or mastering or anything like that. But the downside is what they mix goes. What they decide mix wise is what they need for their library. That's what they're going to have. And even at the expense of vocals that were tuned a way that you
Hmm.
didn't intend for them to be tuned, mixes that may or may not come out the way you like them. And I'm okay with that as far as, I have learned with all licensing to let it go, right? Just let it go, move on to the next song, the whole thing that we say. But at the same time, some of these are artistic, especially my sync stuff, which I take probably a little bit more pride in than my stock stuff, because the stock stuff is certainly for, a different kind of audience, more background, really background music, and sync is sometimes very upfront. And I want the quality to be, my sync stuff is so high quality wise, so it's tough to let go of the reins a little bit when you're, but at this same library trust me enough to write anything I want. When they say, oh, we need a country song, and I write one, and I'm like, do you need to hear it before I record it? Nope. you know because they know and they trust my composing and producing background, because of what I've done
Yeah,
for
it's
them
kind
in
of
the
funny.
past.
I mean, for me, it's
So
like the total opposite. The sync library stuff, like I just let it go and I never even think about it again. And I mean, it's quality, but but it's stripped back. It's a lot more stripped back than the stuff that I send Artlist. And the stuff that I send Artlist is really, I spend a lot more time on it because I know that it's going
huh.
to also have a crossover effect onto my Spotify, so that people are going to be looking up Stephen Bettel on Spotify. They're going to hear that there, so it bleeds into my artistic sort of persona. Is whereas like the sync licensing stuff I just kind of try to like get it done quickly and not I try not to overthink it too much. Um,
When you say sync license, do you mean like stock
No, I mean
licensing
like for the
that's
stuff
also
the sync.
sync,
When I say
or is
sync
it more?
libraries or like sync licensing, I mean like the stuff I'm sending for like TV placements, that kind of thing, like the dramedy tracks that I'm
Okay.
writing or whatever. It's not like I'm spending like 3 days on that.
Okay. Okay.
Those are tracks that I can finish in like a day, or
I agree. I'm talking about more produce. See, for me, I end up producing more of my pop type of stuff for sync. And so I'm not making pop since I'm not in art list, and I have sent some pop stuff to Motion Array, and it's in there. And then some of my artist jazz stuff is in there as well. But for sync, I am creating pop radio sounding tracks, basically. I'm with
yeah,
vocals a lot of times, more often than not. It's got vocals in it. It's pop songs. It's like I
yeah.
would do
I
for
think
my
it's all a
clients.
matter of like what kind of
And
libraries we're working with, right? Everyone wants something different. It could be
yep,
sync, it
yep.
could be sync or
And what
stock. It all
styles,
depends.
genres.
There's such a varying degree
Yep,
of
it really does.
needs and quality requirements. But yeah, it's I definitely like, yeah, spend a lot more time with stuff that I send Artlist, just because I think that their quality standards is like constantly going up and up and up. So that's just where I'm at right now. But
Right. And then the next one is, the other side of this kind of library music is stock music, where, and I don't even want to pile art list in
yeah,
this
yeah.
necessarily. You know what I mean? Because, like you said, you're creating artist
Yeah,
based
exactly
music
right.
for art list in the similar way that I'm
Hmm.
creating that kind of music for sync. But for stock, these are songs that I definitely think of as background instrumentals, or upbeat things, or
Yeah,
background music of some kind for specific stock licensing, things that people are going
right.
to go to stock for. Now, I also use it as a kind of a dumping ground for everything that I have that's non-exclusive. And maybe I should put non-exclusive music here, but I have a lot of pop stuff that's non-exclusive too, so I can't do that. But here's where I think this whole serve the client thing comes into play for stock libraries, and that is when you're looking at doing well. And we've talked a lot about what you did in Motion Array over the past year, what Alex B has done, what Lester has done, what people have done who have had success there, is they have
Hmm.
written for the library. The people who do well at Motion Array a lot of times are writing specifically for Motion Array, and they know what's happening there. They know what is hot there. And so they
Yeah,
write specifically for that. We've talked about
yeah,
that on this show 1,000 times. And that is serving that, and that the client in that respect. And we don't even basically think about Pond 5 or Audio Jungle or any other stock music library except as an afterthought of stuff that we're going to send to Motion Array or some, because I think they are king of the kind of, at least the very um, the very what am I trying to say? The very cream of the crop
Yeah.
of stock licensing,
Yeah.
of
I think
royalty
that's
free
true.
stock licensing, I would think.
Um, yeah. So many people send me music for review, and the question is always like, is this licensable? And I think one of the first things I think of when I listen to a track, before I give someone some feedback, is just like I try to imagine it as being like an underscore for dialogue. I mean, so much of the music that's used from those libraries is that. I think that's the case for TV and production music as well. And a lot of times people send me tracks that are great, but they're very like there's some I get the sense that they're a bit like indulgent. Like there's a lot of like noodling and like soloing, and like there's a lot of it sounds like whoever created it had a ton of fun doing it, and like the vibe is right. But I often tell people, it's like, hey, strip this back, man. Like we need more room. We need more room in the center to allow uh, for dialogue. It's too distracting. There's too much energy. There's too much going on. You need to kind of like create some space. And I think that's something that is pertains to our discussion here. We're composing for the client, because
Yeah.
on the other end you have somebody downloading the music that doesn't want like
Yeah.
like a shredding guitar solo, unless that's going to serve the video. In some cases it might, but I'm just saying, for the most part, like I get a lot of tracks that are very cluttered, and they need some space. And I think you need to take advantage of some kind of space when you're creating tracks for stock libraries, I think.
Well, and the client with stock is not the stock library as much as it is the person who's going to download that track for use in their video. That's the real client. And I think we have to, just like in sync, the actual client is the music supervisor
Hmm.
looking for the song for a scene. And I think we tend to be, oh, I'm going to write sync music in this big like thought of I'm going to write this kind of sync music and then put it out there and hopefully a library will like it. Well, we shouldn't be thinking about the library. We should think about who the end user is going to be, and that is going to be either on the sync side, it's going to be a client. The client is going to be a music supervisor or somebody like that, and on the stock side, it's
Hmm.
going to be a YouTuber, or it's going to be a corporate, somebody need music for a presentation of some kind or some other kind of use, usually video. So that is what we need to think of for our clients. And I do want to talk about in a minute about making music, that the people that send you the music that you review, they're making music for themselves more than they're making music um, for for libraries, but they want to know how they can get that music in libraries. And I see this when artists come to see us in Nashville or wherever, and they want to say, "Oh, I want to make an album and I want everybody to love it," but they're making this very insular, uh, you know, personal music that is not commercial. It's not something that the average
Yeah,
person
well,
is going
and
to
if
like.
that makes
So
you happy to do
that's
that, then go for it. I mean, there's no there's no rules to being an artist. You can do whatever the heck you want,
no,
and
no,
you might be your own client. Maybe just want to be pleasing yourself. In which case, like make your weird ambient noise album and put it up on Spotify, and sure, like it's all good.
yeah.
It's
Tell your friends. Well, we'll get to that in just a second. The last one I want to talk about here is live performance. And even if you're just an artist, you're going to, and let's not talk about being an artist and doing whatever you want, but being an artist and trying to get out and
yeah,
perform in front of people. Then your client is those people, is your audience, whether you're on, and this could be live performance or streaming, or YouTube. Anytime you're trying to reach your fans,
yeah.
that is your client. And that's another thing that artists and composers and beat makers and all the stuff don't always think about, is who is listening. They're thinking about themselves and not about the client, and you've got to
And
serve the
yeah,
client.
this, like, I don't want to go on a rant, but like sometimes I go see like a band or something, like, or a musician, and it's like and sometimes this is a result of being insecure, or like having stage fright or being nervous or whatever. But like sometimes I'll go see a band that are performing, and they won't acknowledge the crowd. Like they're so insulated on stage, and it's like
Yeah.
you have to. nurture that connection that you have with the audience, and you're there for them. Yeah, like you got these ideas, these songs, you got these you got these creations that you made for yourself to some extent, and like it is some part of it is selfish, which is totally cool. But I think whenever I'm on stage and performing, it's like I'm trying to keep in mind that people paid to come see me play music, and you
Yeah.
owe them something in exchange for that, and you have to let them know that you appreciate their presence, and you have to foster that connection there, and acknowledge them, and be present, and make eye contact. Just those little things. I think I've seen so many acts that are just kind of like they're just crumpled up on stage, just like in their own world. I'm just
Hmm.
like, hey, like, come on, man, we're
Yeah.
here.
In I just thought of this one in a similar type of thing, and we both deal with this every day, is being educators of some kind, is being, whether you're at a school or you run a YouTube channel or you are on TikTok, it doesn't really matter. You are trying to serve someone out there who is watching, someone or a student, someone who is trying to learn from you. And so hopefully this podcast is helpful to people who are listening or watching. But I think this is one of the things I struggle with all the time is how much how much am I getting involved with the students or making sure they're getting what they need rather versus just teaching what I want to teach or
Mm-hmm.
talking about me all the time. And it's a hard road, and then you have to worry about, just like with artists, you have to worry about, are they going to do anything with this information that I give them, all this music knowledge that I give them. But you and I both yesterday spent time talking to and with other people who follow us online, and it's part of serving. I mean, we don't only do it for the money, because if we did only for the money, we could find other things that paid more money, but we do it because we are trying to serve those people.
Yeah. I
you
mean,
know
if you're educating people just for the money, you're definitely in it for the wrong reason.
You're in the
That's
wrong
for
business.
sure. I mean, like, just think about that, like, everyone has that high school teacher, growing up, that just like clearly hated being there. It's just like that's the worst job if you don't
Yeah.
actually love helping people. It's just a terrible job. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, education is all it's all being an educator is totally all about serving, and helping. You really got
Yeah.
to love the feeling you get when you actually help somebody take that next step up the ladder, whatever it is. And it's about more than just rattling off facts and talking about yourself. It's about actually helping people um, get motivated, and actually helping them be accountable to themselves. So that's a big part of it as well.
They're absolutely clients. I even call them clients by mistake. I'll be talking to my boss. The clients. I mean, the students, because it really
Yeah,
feels
yeah,
like they're
just
the
different
same
words,
thing.
but the
They're
same
they're
same idea.
they're
Yeah.
they're coming in just like the artists do, wanting to be taught,
Hmm.
wanting to go to the next level. And so, now, if you're not serving clients, let's
Hmm.
say you don't do any of those things, and you're thinking, hey, I don't serve clients. All I do is make music for me. I just like making music for
Yeah.
myself. Well, that's great. But guess what? You still have a client. You said it earlier. You do have a client. It's you. You're serving yourself. And that's absolutely fine. If you're listening to this podcast and none of these things, you go, I like listening to this podcast, but I'm not interested in making money off of this because I don't need to.
Anyone's listening to this
But
podcast
I just like hearing you.
who isn't
Huh?
interested in making money. I mean, it's called make music, and
Well, maybe they just like making
yeah,
music. Maybe
they
they
might have
didn't see
missed
the
the
second
income
part.
part.
Maybe they didn't see the income part. And if that's the case, yes, you can sit around and make music for yourself. I do it all the time. I do it every day. I will sit there and noodle for
Yeah,
some reason
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
in my own space. And it feeds me and that's fine. But you're still serving yourself. And that's
yeah.
okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And you need to do that, I think. I think sometimes we get too caught up in,
Well,
what am I making this for?
Well, maybe it
How am I
starts
going to
that
make
way.
money
I mean,
off
it
this?
certainly did for me. I wasn't thinking about making music income when I was like 13 and learning the guitar. It was just I just enjoyed the sound of it, and I enjoyed doing it as a pastime, and it evolved from that. But there's so much. Yeah,
Although we
well, yeah,
thought we
the
were going to be
plan was to
rock
be a rock
stars.
star, so
So,
didn't didn't quite work out that way. But like you said, I still sit around and I just pick up the guitar and play it for just the joy of playing it. And I'm sort of trying half-assed trying to learn the piano right now, and I just enjoy just like making sound. It's just fun. It's relaxing. It's therapeutic,
yeah.
and that's totally a selfish endeavor. There's it's I'm in my own world. I'm just pleasing myself, and that's and that makes me happy. And we all got to do that to some extent, but
Guess so.
but yeah.
This
I
is
mean,
going downhill.
I'll stop it there.
Um, and then the other one is sometimes you are just jamming with your friends, you're just having a good time, or you're at church
That's
and you're
another
doing
way
that's
of
another.
pleasing
We're
pleasing
not going to
ourselves.
talk
Just
about the
jamming.
client. You want, yeah. Well, jamming with friends is serving others. You're serving other people. The other one I didn't put is playing at church or doing music at church where you're serving God, which is I guess the big
Hmm.
client, the big C. Um, but it to kind of bring this to a close. There's an old song that continues to be true by Bob Dylan. That is, you got to serve somebody. And I think that's where this all comes back to with serve the client is that we've got to be prepared to make sure that we are okay with that. And this goes to every aspect of our industry and ourselves and everything. It comes back to make sure that when this doesn't mean only make music that clients like. Believe me, I've done that before, and that you can get lost in that and lose your all of yourself in
Yeah.
it. And I did, and I had to reclaim my own composing self and my own focus of my own music. But still, even though I am composing more now and really focusing on a lot of times, I'm kind of thinking, not with every song, but a lot of times, where is this going to go? Who is this going to serve? What client is this for? If I'm not directly serving a person who had me commissioned me to do it, but I'm just making up out of the air, going, where is this going to go? Who is this going to serve? I mean, it's part of what we do.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think,
you can go.
yeah,
It can get too much. You can go too much down the serving rabbit hole, I guess. I definitely been. I think we've both been there on multiple occasions where it's just like you're doing
yeah,
so much work for clients. You're working for artists, writing music for libraries. It's like you kind of at the end of the day, it's like, what about you? So it's
yeah.
definitely difficult. It's been an ongoing struggle to strike the right balance between doing my own thing and writing for various different clients. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have any easy answers for that. It's
Yeah.
tough, especially when you got to pay the bills. It's
Well,
tough
again,
for sure.
and that's the answer. If you're listening to this podcast because you want to know how to make music income,
Yeah.
welcome to how. You have to serve the client, whoever that client's going to be it real people, artists, libraries, students, uh, God, whoever you feel like your music is meant to serve, then you need to serve them. And especially if you want to make income from your music, you're going to have to serve someone in order to make the cheddar, as Dave as Dave Croft says, the cheddar. Anyway, so with that, I'm going to say that's all I got this week. Thanks for watching, everybody, and listening. And
Awesome.
we'll have
Good
more for you
chat.
next week.
See you guys. Bye now.
All right. See you.